Hello friends, welcome back to Strategic Management, and the last point of discussion which I had with you last time was that when we are talking of corporate level strategy and corporate level strategic decision making, we are focusing upon strategically managing value chains and developing value webs. How do we do that? What are we focusing upon? We talked about diversification. We talked about creating, we tried to create an image in our minds on, when an organization tries to create different kinds of value chains and try to interconnect those value chains, like ITC does. And I was trying to put up an example in terms of ITC, for example. They do that. But then it's magic basically, and it's very natural also, that many a times when you are sitting in the chair and you are taking a decision which should be logical in terms of, that decision is guided by either the attractiveness of the industry, which we have talked about, IO model when we talked about that. So, for example, Wipro when thinks in terms of going for software development, so that is definitely, taking the advantage of the situation wherein you bring up the acumen and you develop an organization wherein you want to go for software development, because that is the era, that era must be related with software development, and if you want to grow as an organization, then you must diversify it that much. So, you are a consumer products company and you go there. There are several other companies like GE, for example. They went through a natural progression journey wherein, on one side they are developing an acumen wherein they are an electric company. They are developing electrical goods and appliances. In the meanwhile, they are developing a technology, different kinds of technological development which they are going through, and then they start going towards high end technological businesses, entering into engines also, space technology also, and several other kinds of businesses wherein you would realize that they are creating related businesses, then not so related businesses, then distantly related businesses, and then they are going for extreme diversification. But one would realize, if you will look into all those businesses, there is some chord associated with human resource or technological development or technological support from one of the organizations, and on the other side they might be serving the same customers with different kinds of solutions as well. Same happened with IBM. A hardware company becomes a solution company. Same happens with a media house. When I was working with a media company, one of the senior most people in that company, who later became the chairman also, used to passionately say that we are a content organization basically. We sell content, not only news, content. And that content may have a chord with for example, you can publish an yearbook also. There are several media houses which publish yearbooks basically. So, Malayalam Manorama, they publish yearbooks. Dainik Jagran, they publish yearbook basically. Yearbook is a repository of knowledge, because you are generating content. New York Times, they have a repository of knowledge wherein you can ask them the questions related to what happened when, because they have created that content, they have a repository with them. So, they are, and many media organizations, if they feel that they are content based organizations, then that content can be printed as newspapers, that content can be released on OTT platforms, that content can be released as internet news, that content, same content can be on television as well, on radio as well. And many media organizations, they have become conglomerates in terms of, as far as this related content based business goes. Content is generated by similar kinds of people, similar kinds of journalists. They get the news, that news goes into diversified media options you may have. So, it makes all the sense. It is very closely related with each other. The same source of journalism, the same same content can go to different kinds of audience, or same audience through different modes. Magical. So, you see, the point is that somehow there are several other kinds of things which we can witness in due course of time. For example, you are somehow related to dairy business. Amul, Patanjali, they have their own dairies. So, milk, you can produce so many products, same suppliers, same milk, and you have diversified products with different kinds of usage, with different kinds of calorific value, different kinds of nutrition value, different kinds of passion, different kinds of customers. Ice cream is liked by many, but not all. Yogurt is liked by many, Shrikhand is liked by many, and so on. You see, we talked about that. You are creating different product lines then you are creating different value chains, and you are integrating those through some cord. Either you have a cord and you are going this way, or you keep on generating cord, and so on. So, let us see what happens when we talk about corporate level strategy. So, corporate level strategy, and I briefly talked about that last time also, the corporate level strategy is expected to help the firm earn above average returns by creating value. What kind of value you are generating for the firm, and we have talked about the customers and the suppliers. And you see, the corporate level strategy has a very strong cord with the business level strategic choices, and here it is very imperative for me to tell you that business level strategic choices can also be a guiding force for corporate level strategic choices, and corporate level strategy definitely has a say wherein business level strategies have to be crafted around the frame of corporate level strategies. So, it is a two-way relationship, although largely we feel that at the decisions they are taken broadly from there, and then they traverse into business level strategic choices as such, but it is a two-way relationship. So, a corporate level strategy's value is ultimately determined by degree to which the businesses in the portfolio are worth more under the management of the company than they would be under any other ownership. Thus, an effective corporate level strategy creates across all of a firm's businesses aggregate returns of all the businesses that exceed what those returns would be without the strategy, and contributes to the firm's strategic competitiveness and its ability to earn above average returns. You see, all are the babies. When we watch that Tata chart, you draw those charts for several organizations, Birla's, Shriram Group. There are several conglomerates in India. Reliance is a huge conglomerate, and so on, and there are very similar global conglomerates around the world who have different kinds of diversified businesses all through. GE is one of those, and then you just go for top organizations list in the world, and you would realize most of them are conglomerates, basically having large diversified portfolios in terms of businesses, basically. So, when you look at them and you try to put up the complete value chains around those businesses and the products and the product lines, and you create life cycles and organizational life cycle, product life cycle, industry life cycle, and then you start looking at that as if it is your baby. You try to look at the cumulative growth of all the organizations in due course of time. That is one part. One life cycle supporting the other life cycle, that is the second part. Integration, strength of the complete family, third part. It is just like that a great grandfather is looking at the span, the clan of the family he has, or great grandmother, the span she has, she is the mother. But again, the point is that this is how you look at, and you try to look at them with a universal point of frame, that the total family strength is this much. And then you transfer strength of one person within the family to the other person as such also. Same way it happens in terms of conglomerates. So, what does crafting a diversification strategy entail? What does that mean? And here we are continuously using HIT, Ireland and Hoskinson. The task of crafting a diversified company's overall corporate strategy falls squarely in the lap of top level executives and involves four distinct facets. Here I would like to define from my side, my experience, my perspective, with all due regards to the great authors who have defined these terms. But to me, top level executives are those people who can think in terms of organizations as if the head of the family should be looking at. Top level executive means that you have that caliber, the capacity, the aura, the poise, the calm, the strength to lead a large family. It is not about age, it is not only about experience, it is not just about age, it is not just about anything, it is a mixture of that. You can lead the family, you have that kind of a strength. Many very young people can become that father figure. Many executives in India, they have taken the reins in their hands at a very early age and have led their organizations very well. I can name one of those, like Mr. Kumar Mangalam Birla. He did that exceptionally well, taking the reins at a very early age in his life. So, that kind of, and he has always been commended by so many people about this. So, you see, it is about becoming a father figure, leading the situation up front. And how do you do that actually? So, it involves 4 distinct facets: picking new industries to enter and deciding on the means of entry, which business we should be going for, resource view, industry view, what kind of philosophical backdrop we would be having when we would be having these kind of choices in front of us, red ocean, blue ocean, fortune at the bottom of the pyramid, capitalism at the crossroads, or development as freedom, or all of them, or few of them, whichever way. Pursuing opportunities to leverage cross business value chain relationships, and here comes that key term, key sentence, key word which we have been talking about, which we have talked about in the last segment, wherein cross business value chain relationship, you have created different value chains and cross value chain business relationship. Steel manufacturing becomes the seller for automotive manufacturing, and automotive manufacturing becomes the buyer for the steel manufacturing of the same conglomerate. Can happen. I talked about that last time. So, you see, leverage cross business value chain relationships where there is a strategic fit into competitive advantage. Establishing investment priorities and steering corporate resources into the most attractive business units. Initiating actions to boost the combined performance of the corporation's collection of businesses. The combined performance of the corporation's collection of businesses. One session back we were talking about Mahindra and Mahindra's EVs. Automotive acumen transferred to develop EVs, going into a futuristic business on one side, their research and development center supporting so many kinds of efforts they are making. On the other side, Mahindra Automotives is doing exceptionally well. Same engine manufacturing and engineering perspective utilized in agri-farm equipment manufacturing, wherein they are leading in their way in tractors. Software is supporting almost everywhere, and that is where Mahindra Tech and Satyam comes in, and several other kinds of, and now they have traversed into aeroplane manufacturing or production also. So, that is where combined performance of a corporation's collection of businesses which you are going through. Similar kinds of chords Hero Cycles and Hero Motorcycles are having as far as the whole situation scenario goes. Consumer product companies, it is very easy to think that yes, they are doing that. It is quite evident in terms of the development of the products, as well as as far as marketing of the products and those kind of things go, and several other conglomerates which are traversing their acumen and their resources from this side to that side and so on. So, Tata Chemicals to several other Tata companies, and we know that. Strategy alternatives for pursuing diversification. So, here comes diversification strategy options. So, one is diversified into related businesses, diversify into unrelated businesses, diversify into both related and unrelated businesses. These can be the 3 maximum choices which we may have, and here we are referring to Kellett, Thomson, Strickland and Gamble, Crafting and Executing Strategy, The Quest for Competitive Advantage, McGraw-Hill Education. So, these can be the 3 choices basically. Now, just for a while pause here, think in terms of where do you fit, for example, Jagran Prakashan, Dainik Jagran Group, here diversified into related businesses. If you will look at their news business, definitely they are here. Diversified into unrelated business, Jagran is into other businesses as well. So, they can come into both of the categories also, but very clear distinction, you can fit Jagran here for a while, with all due respect to their efforts in unrelated businesses also, but just for a while, because they are known for their news business. I am not saying they are not into unrelated businesses, they are, but just for an example. And unrelated businesses, Wipro, can we keep Wipro here? We can do that. Diversify into both related and unrelated businesses. So, you have Tata's, ITC, you have several other businesses basically all together. So, if you will try to put up examples here, you can put Amul somewhere, you can put LIC somewhere, you can put for example, it's a good example. I remember Mr. Sanjeev Kapoor, who is a great chef and a very renowned personality, who initiated this Khana Khazana show long back. It is one of the, I think one of the longest running shows on a television basically, almost 3 decades if I am not wrong. probably something here and there, and he has created a huge fame as far as that thing goes. So Khana Khazana basically is a show, live show, and there it's into media and entertainment on one side. Then you are actually producing recipes and selling those, that is on the other side. Then Mr. Kapoor has restaurants, good running restaurants, that is on the other side. Then he is into now utensil manufacturing also. He has a series and range of utensils which he manufactures, and then there are several other interests which he has diversified into. So you can keep Mr. Kapoor a different in different kinds of categories. So he might have moved from one to the other to the third as well. And that is what happens many a times when businesses, they move from diversify into related businesses, then into unrelated businesses, and then they are into both basically. Reliance is a story of this, a huge story of this. They went into petrochemical based kind of a production and manufacturing as far as polyester goes, and then they went for complete value chain around that, and then they are a completely diversified group at this moment, from their interests into oil and natural gas, and their interests into refining, and their interests into petrochemical based kind of businesses, into telecom, into several. I do not think that there is any business which they are not touching as of now in due course of time. So huge conglomerate as far as the whole story goes. So that is how. So there are two elements. Every organization would fall in somewhere as far as this thing goes after a particular stage, of course, and then you would find organizations graduating from this stage to that stage and so on. Now let us see what do we have in store further. So there are levels of diversification. Diversified firms vary according to their level of diversification and connections between amongst their businesses. You see, authors, they have been talking about this word connections between and amongst their businesses now and then, and they want to draw our attention towards the fact that this connection is a natural thing. The diversification evolves from a connectedness which you have in your mind about the businesses you would pursue. That is one thing, and from that side also, that connectedness actually flows back. If you have completely diversified your business, then probably some connectedness flows back from one business to the other business as such, and that can be in any form. That can start from the customer connectedness, that can start from the human resource and acumen connectedness, core competency connectedness, supplies connectedness, raw materials, of course, processing, research and development, whichever area, and then that connection and those kind of connections may become intense, further meaningful as far as the lifting up the whole scenario and structure goes and so on. There are 5 categories of businesses according to increasing levels of diversification are. Let us see what kind of businesses evolve. Single business, dominant business, related constraint, related links, unrelated. We are graduating from a different kind of a stage, one stage to the other stage to the. If you will go into history of long running organizations, including Tatas or several other kinds of organizations, production houses, groups, internationally, nationally, wherever, and because we are largely focused upon Indian audience here in these kind of courses which we are running here, and the course which I am recording for you, that is why I try to put up familiar examples in front of you most of the time, and Tata's is a global example as of now. So we have Tata's, Reliance and so on, we have some all such global examples with us. So when we talk of single businesses, the expansion, the natural expansion of those single businesses is the mainstay basically. I would be slightly elaborating these. Then dominant business, then because you are taking the help of several supply chain partners or supply chain elements which you might have, or value chain elements which you might have, then you may have as far as dominance of one of the outputs more, and you may start diversifying in terms of the other outputs, in terms of even for example acumen. For example, if you are a refrigerator manufacturing company or refrigeration company, white goods manufacturing company and so on, you are manufacturing compressors for yourself and you are supplying compressors to others as well. So you become OEM suppliers to others. Wipro did that for quite some time, many organizations do that for quite some time. Nokia is doing that for quite some time. For Nokia kind of organizations who has large number of IPs and intellectual property rights with them, because they developed those kind of things long back. So Nokia was dominantly into customer market, and they were marketing Nokia handsets and phones at a large level, and were definitely people would have been coming to them to ask for their software support and their IP support, IP products which they are using, their own intellectual property. So people would have been ready to pay them for that. So they would have been giving them that kind of an acumen. But as of now, when Nokia receded somewhat in as far as their handset or mobile market space goes, they are still actually marketing as far as their acumen goes, IP goes. So they have shifted from that side to this side. So there can be several kinds of examples wherein the dominance of one of the business has overcome as far as the other business goes, although you started from somewhere, you went to some other side. But for this we have to look into the history of organizations, we have to learn about the history of organizations, how these organizations have developed in due course of time and what have they done. And here comes the situation. This is how I wish to demonstrate as far as the whole scenario goes. So low levels of diversification, for example, wherein single business, 95% or more of the revenue comes from a single business. Basically you are more focused on as far as one thing goes. For example, you are a tourism organization which has interests in hotels also, but you are more focused upon as far as organizing tours and taking the helps of others, and you have some resorts which are of your own basically. So 95% of the revenue comes from one kind of a stream largely. For example, you somehow are a platform which is used by so many people to release their software and entertainment movies or serials or whatsoever, and you are producing somewhat of your own as well. For example, you are a retail organization, you are a Big Bazaar, you are a Spencer, wherein 95% of the revenue comes from retailing others' products and 5% comes from your own products. I am not sure it is happening in case of Spencer's or Big Bazaar, but there was a time when minimal kinds of products were being produced by them from their own side. So that is how things are. For example, if you may be a consumer products company like Nirma, having good diversification levels, good stakes in different kinds of businesses, but dominantly you have been a detergent company and then you diversified into soaps and some other products basically, but largely being known for that kind of a product sphere, 95% or 5%. I am not sure about the percentage exactly in these examples which I am talking about, but this is the overall scenario, that major stakes are from single businesses. For example, Dainik Jagran Group I talked about, and 95% or larger businesses from news content. So you may say that they are a news organization, news based organization. They are not too much into entertainment, they are not too much into other kinds of things. They are diversified, or they have different kinds of businesses and organizations as such also, but their most of the business is in terms of as far as their news content goes. Dominant business, between 70% and 95% of the revenue comes from a single business. So here, as I said, your some of your businesses are becoming dominant, and some of the businesses you are slowly diversifying. You are moving into other spheres because that makes sense, that makes logic actually somehow, that evolves in due course of time. For example, Hero Motors has passed through this kind of a phase basically, Escorts, they pass through these kind of phases, Modis, they pass through these kind of phases, Reliance, they pass through this kind of phases when they were producing polyester largely. So most of the revenue was coming from there, then they diversified, and some of the revenue started coming from the other sides and so on. And for example, Indian Oil, they manufacture lubricants also. So 70% oils or 25% lubricants, I am not sure, but this is how things are. This is how it goes from as far as single business and that kind of a relationship. Moderate to high levels of diversification, and this is beautifully demonstrated by authors in terms of A, B, that kind of thing basically. So A is where in single business, A, B is where in dominant and single business. So some business is dominant to the levels of 70% and somewhere it is 25%. So now comes in moderate to high levels of diversification, wherein related constrained situation is there. So less than 70% of revenue comes from the dominant business, less than 70%, and all businesses share product, technological and distribution linkages. Now here you are going for a logical kind of a relationship basically. You have reason for being diversified. You are developing reason, you are developing logic, because cost differentiation, these kind of elements are there. And as I said, D for differentiation, D for diversification matters a lot everywhere in this world. Leave aside businesses. So businesses definitely logically it matters. So there you are technologically and developing distribution links also. I named Amazon, I named several other companies wherein you can think in terms of that technological acumen is being used in different kinds of businesses they have. So much so that many of such organizations, they have started calling themselves as software companies rather than only retail business and those kind of things. So here comes A, B and C. So related constraint kind of a situation. Then there is a very closely related situation as well, related links, mixed related and unrelated. So mixed related and unrelated, you see it's magical when we talk about these kind of things, and when we start looking and mapping those organizations here, it would be difficult for us to create demarcated lines, but then you would realize, yes, this organization up till this stage is here and after this stage goes that side. We can talk about similar kind of thing about IITs also. IIT Kharagpur, they initiated medical course, they have law school. IIT Kanpur, they initiated medical course. Several IITs, several other IITs are sincerely thinking in terms of developing different kinds of institutions within them. IIT BHU already has that, diversified courses. IIT Dhanbad, they have mining courses. So you see, they had their origin, they diversified into being a different kind of a situation, and now they have diversified portfolios. So you see, the point is that even organizations like Indian Institute of Technologies, they are also thinking in terms of or trying to pursue moderate to high level of diversification, and someday we would say that we are extremely diversified when we would have initiated a large number of companies and entrepreneurial ventures which belong to institutions like IITs, and definitely there are several companies which are running within the ambit of IITs, run by professors and students, wherein after a particular stage we are open to any sort of idea and it is completely diversified many a times. It is a service oriented company and so on. So related links and mixed related unrelated kind of a situation. Less than 70% of revenue comes from the dominant business, and there are only limited links between the businesses. So there you have businesses are related and there are linkages. Here there are limited links basically, or you are actually not using the links to that extent basically. There may be reasons to that. Very high levels of diversification. Unrelated businesses, less than 70% of revenue comes from the dominant business, and there are no common links between businesses, completely unrelated. You see this percentage that is advised by authors through their experience and through their understanding of different kinds of businesses which they have developed in due course of time. So it is not a thumb rule basically, but it is just to justify that the majority and minority, which and sometimes minority becomes majority. I will be coming back to you with an extended discussion on corporate level strategic choices, how to make those kind of choices, what are the reasons behind those choices, and what happens when these choices are made in due course of time. I would be using lot many examples, lot many cases, lot many clues for you to understand this kind of a situation. I will be catching up back with you. Till then, goodbye.